tell us your thoughts on the state of politics.
Mm.
Yeah. You're listening to the Andy Beshear podcast. And for our next two panelists, if you will, please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. David Echeverria, a young professional based out of Louisville, Kentucky, owner of Village Sports and Entertainment, as well as DSC Solutions. And yeah, happy to be here.
So I actually want to start. You all both have small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about both the opportunities and the challenges of being a 20-something with a small business or a few.
Definitely plenty of opportunities, but also, plenty of things that have crossed paths and had to, come encounter with. One of the great things about having a small business or small businesses is being able to be flexible and try and do different things. I think one of the beautiful things about I'm 25 now, but I started my first business at 21, was being able to try different things and go different places, meet new people, and learn a lot. I think that's one of the things as a small business owner is you're always learning. You're always able to try new things, especially in today's day and age. There's a lot of access to education and different tools to learn more. But it doesn't come with its challenges too, having to identify what is it that I actually want to do. Because I think the vision I had at 21 is a lot different than now at almost 26.
Yeah, right. You're both into gaming and into politics.
Yes. A lot of people would not see any overlap between those two things. And I don't, those are two of my passions.
Yes.
And so at first it seemed like a very divided line between the two. But as things have developed and as I've had a lot of conversation with people around the country, things do overlap. And I had our first city contract on the gaming and esports side this past year. So it's exciting. I had to navigate. It's exciting, but also I had to navigate being a city vendor and, all the paperwork that comes with that, which is good. Like it was a new opportunity to learn and navigate that space. But it's an exciting time to innovate and be a leader in that.
So given you all own your own small businesses, you're the boss. Where do you go to for advice?
Mentors. I've been very, very blessed with great mentors in my life, whether it's, growing up, my dad was definitely one of my mentors. He was also a public school teacher. And
I still get to ask my dad questions.
Yeah. And then upon graduation, being able to find mentorship out of the state even, and being able to see what they do in other parts of the country, being able to take some of that knowledge and experience back here to Kentucky. And being able to also be by their side as, someone who's very young at the time and continuing to be in that way, but also being able to see the challenges that they go through and the way they handle those things. I think there's nothing more beneficial than having a mentor, whether you're a small business owner or not, but definitely in that respect.
Tell us your thoughts on the state of politics.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the sigh starts it all.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of noise right now in a lot of ways. Not completely negative because there's a lot of things going on. And I think, and part of the previous conversation was about how we utilize social media and other tools at our disposal. But I'd also think there's a lot of negative noise as far as mis and disinformation and being able to understand what's true, what isn't true. AI content is now flooding a lot of spaces. And I think that complicates the discussion around politics a lot. I think the flow of information that a lot of folks are experiencing is now becoming, muddy waters in a lot of ways. And so there's a constant source of division when it comes to social media algorithms and the way that we're having those conversations, whether it be in person or online, because even though the online content floods into the in-person conversations in a lot of ways too. And so there's a lot of education that constantly has to happen. And so I think that's really where I would say is the state of our politics there's a strong need for education, whether it's from the very basic civic lessons to, the news that we see each and every night.
So facts need to exist.
Absolutely.
So if your generation was in charge right now, how do you think things would be different?
A whole lot different.
Yeah, definitely different. Not sure it'd all be better. I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on us, but I do think that I would like to think that things would be a little less complicated if we were, all on one accord. I
think they'd be less confrontational.
I think there'd be a bit more compassion.
I
think that's something that a lot of us are craving at the moment.
Yeah.
Is compassion and empathy. I think that a lot of that comes from, part of it might come from social media, the fact that we're able to see more stories of people that aren't necessarily, ones that look like us or are coming from the same kind of background. But also we're experiencing things consistently that are challenging us in a lot of ways. The very fabric of what this country is built on. Like a lot of these things are being challenged each and every day. Our civic experience from growing up in from the early 2000s to now, then 2016 on has been quite an experience. So I would like to think that things would be a little more cohesive, but there'd also be hopefully more accountability. I think that's what a lot of us really are also craving is having those clear conversations about what should be happening and what isn't happening that is impacting us, each and every day.
So that's so interesting to me. The idea that we need to have clear conversations and not sound bites. Yet social media almost only lifts up and allows that sound bite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the problem we find too in this age of social media and content, and one of the reasons why there is so much misinformation and attention grabbing content is because of the fact that folks are relying on it for money, for one. The fact that you're able to monetize content, monetize attention. We live in an attention economy. That's one of the reasons why I do think the gaming and entertainment space is so, important right now, is how are we making sure that we are grabbing people's attention, bringing them in, but then having those clear and concise conversations as well, because we understand people's attention spans. But yeah, we have to make sure that it's still being intentional and that we are making the most of people's time, because we can't hold them hostage all the time with having those educational conversations.
Well, I've always believed that government's never going to ride in on the horse with the answers. But if it's listening to community leaders,
Yeah.
there's opportunities to act intentionally. Do you all feel heard?
It depends on who's listening.
Okay.
I would say it depends on who's listening. I think a lot of times as young leaders and young professionals, people want you in the room to check a box, to say that you were here, that you were at the table, that we brought you into the conversation. But never so that they're going to use what you've brought to the table to make change. It wasn't until my work with Cities United that I started feeling like somebody's listening, and they are using young leader voices to push some of this work forward. But yeah, what about you, David? You think somebody's listening? You think we're being heard?
Listening, but it's less about the listening, it's more about the action afterwards. A lot of times, I've had many conversations over the years where I feel valued in the moment and I feel heard. And I'm like, oh, this is like a great idea. This is something that'd be very impactful. But then the lack of support afterwards to help make that vision happen is sometimes lacking. I feel like a lot of times with young folks, it is about sometimes ticking that box, which is understandable. Like,
Right.
I understand that we're not always going to get, maybe it's not going to be a voting seat at a table, or whatnot. But it start even at the university level, right? Like, I think that's one of the things where when you consistently are in the spaces, at the university, you're the one paying the tuition. You're the one, but also experiencing the shortcomings of the institutions. And so I think a lot of times when it comes to the institutional spaces, there is a lack of feeling heard when, it's not just you, but you're also sharing what your family's experiencing. Like, it's not just about my experience alone. It's about what my dad and my mom are feeling, or what my cousins down the street are experiencing too. So it's not just about, hey, you need to listen to what a 25-year-old is saying. It's like, I'm the one that's able to come to the table right now to speak for my community or my family. And these are the things that are happening. But yeah, it's about the action afterwards, after the acknowledgement. Yeah.
So we got a lot of policymakers that listen to the podcast, or at least tell me they listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
So you got a chance. What's one thing you would say that we need to focus on?
Well, it's been said several times. Healthcare is a huge concern. I'm at the age right now as a small business owner who's 25 and turns 26 this year. That's a big moment for me.
Yeah.
Where I'm having to make decisions about, one, am I going to continue being a small business owner? And what kind of healthcare plan options are there for small business owners like myself?
So were you on the exchange before?
So I'm on my parents' healthcare. Yeah. So
it used to be that you could come off that, and thank goodness for the Affordable Care Act and the ability to stay on that healthcare for until you're 26. And the exchange used to be that step, and especially small businesses that don't have enough employees to qualify for one of these major plans.
Yes.
So as you all know, we had Congress that extended a tax cut for the wealthy,
yes,
but wouldn't extend a tax credit for small business owners.
yes. So and that you speak directly to it. we're not speaking as though none of these things have been part of the conversation before. We've taken major steps back, and not necessarily us that are making those decisions, but yeah, that's a big concern of mine. I mean, I hurt my knee this week, so I came in here on crutches because I'm like, what's a good thing to happen now and not 6 months from now, where my healthcare situation might be unclear.
Right.
And so I think that's something that a lot of 20-something-year-olds, especially as affordability becomes more and more of a question, and we don't necessarily have all the things that my parents. I'm at the age now where I'm older than my parents were when they had both me and my sister. They owned a home, and they were starting a family. So I think those are all big conversations. For sure.
On the healthcare front, I think about the challenge that you face, and the fact that it doesn't have to be that way. That there are different options, and whether that's the federal government doing what they ought to do, whether that's the state stepping in. I propose that we put the funding in to help our small businesses be able to afford health care. But I have a new worry. And it's not just that people fully fall off health care, but they move to cheaper plans where they're gambling with their health. But if they gamble wrong, they end up in an even worse place.
Absolutely. I mean, the copays are like those aren't jokes. Like it really is a big concern. And I'm fortunate my dad is a public school teacher, so I went to the doctor this week. It's a strong healthcare plan that he has access to, and I have access to an extension. So yeah, no, it definitely is something to consider, and something that yes, I would plead to many of the lawmakers, whether it's here in Kentucky or elsewhere, to make sure that they're keeping in mind the 26-year-old folks that are about to be 26-year-old folks that don't necessarily want to have to be attached to that 9-to-5 life of a bigger corporation. We want to have the opportunity to innovate and lead in our own way. So,
one question I've got is that we talked a lot about the economics, what's happening around us, but I'm just kind of curious to hear what the emotional take is when you turn on the news in the morning and you see what's happening. What is the feeling that hits you on most days?
yeah. I mean, exhausted is one word. I think, especially working in the political field, there's not really release necessarily.
There's not. You can't turn it off.
Exactly. I mean, and it's part of my job as well, as to be educated on the issues and to be in tune with what communities are feeling and saying. And so I think there is no real release from it. And it's not like it's just nonsensical information that's being thrown. It's important things that are happening, impacting thousands of millions of people around the world. And so it's just the lack of intention or the lack of compassion that's behind a lot of the actions. A lot of it is very intentional, and so it's not as though it's just a fleeting consequence. There's an active movement behind it too, which I think adds to the weight of it as well. And so one piece is making sure that there are whether it's your colleagues, your friends, your family, or your community members that are aligned with you, and understanding where those folks are is helpful, so you don't feel as alone. And I think that's what again, going back to social media, that's helpful, but it can also make you feel very isolated at times too. And so yeah, in a lot of ways exhausted, because I feel like there hasn't really been a release, but still hopeful that, because I do know there's people around me that are aligned.
And that's where I want to turn and give you the final word.
Yeah.
If that's the feel, leave our listeners with the hope. What are you hopeful about?
I'm hopeful that what we're seeing in office is not what we're seeing in community. That community is stepping up, community is filling in the gap, community is providing and loving, and supporting each other in any way that they can. We saw that with them stopping food stamps, how many people were able to come in and
First
and
president
provide.
ever to stop that during a shutdown.
I'm not surprised. Unfortunately disappointed, but not surprised. But even like into myself, I give away prom dresses for free every year. And that's a labor of love that I do all year long. So you'll probably see me with 2 or 3 prom dresses in my back
I've
seat.
seen you on the news with them.
Yeah, so I try to get everywhere that I can. But also just knowing that the exhaustion that I may feel or the overwhelmness that I may feel is stopping someone else from having those same emotions about something that for a lot of our youth is something so big for them, right? And so that's the hope, that community will continue to fill in the gaps, that we will get the people in office that will continue to listen. We appreciate you for giving us the platform as young professionals to be able to speak to a wider audience than we usually are, susceptible to. And so that's the hope that we will, as the American people, will carry on what it means to actually be a U.S. citizen, what it means to actually be God-fearing, and what it means to love each other and continue to take care of each other. And that it's going to take all of us, and it's not going to happen overnight, but we have to keep working at it. We have to keep going, even if it feels like, we take a couple steps backwards. One of my favorite quotes is that even the steps backwards are a part of the dance. And so just keep dancing, keep moving, because they can't hit you if you're moving.
I can't say it any better. Thanks for joining the podcast.
Thank you.